Hey, everybody. It is Wednesday, August 20th, giving you this week in the degenerate economy. And I will tell you, it has been a fascinating week. Let's first go, as we always do, to my Degenerate Economy Index. And you can see that on the surface through yesterday doesn't look like much damage because mainly the companies I own in this index are highly profitable. This is a breakdown of the portfolio. Google is my biggest position, smallest position, DoorDash. I update this as I put on new positions, not very active. So the Degenerate Economy Index continues to outperform the regular economy in the S&P and the NASDAQ 100. This is just something that I put together. All right, let's go a little bit deeper into the degenerate economy this week with the volatilities picking up. So I just wanted to share a message I share often with the StockTwits community. It's kind of like yoga, right? When you need to continue to repeat some things for people, because I share ideas all the time and people ask me, what should I do? And just to refresh people, I love sharing ideas, but I'm not sharing to tell other people what to do. I'm sharing as in my own practice to express what I'm thinking and occasionally what I'm actually doing, because I don't trade that often. And so the biggest part of the degenerate economy is it's not going away, it's growing. And so people need to learn to both learn the language of the markets and speculation and obviously manage to their own risk profile. I think we'll see as this degenerate economy expands that every human has their own risk a DNA score, right, which changes with age. So I'd be careful when in this world, if you're just beginning, be careful about asking for advice because people will give you advice. Okay, disclaimer aside, let's get right to it. I thought this was hilarious. Jeff Bezos, everybody says they're the best trader, but it turns out that the wife of Jeff Bezos is maybe the best trader of all time. This made me laugh. Married when the stock was at $1 and divorced, right at the top. So obviously, just like owning Amazon stock, it pays compounding in great companies works. She just happened to get the best trade out of it. All right. Next in the degenerate economy, I've been thinking a lot about behavior and how we may be nearing some form of top. I've seen a lot of rollover in IPOs, Circle IPO, which shot up and came down, and CoreWeave IPO. This chart about Cathie Wood's really kind of bent my mind, right? Cathie Wood has underperformed the markets, I don't know, for 6-7 years since the peak in 2019, 2020. We can tell how hot the market's getting because after years of outflows and underperformance, she had her biggest inflow week last week. So what is this a sign of? This is just a sign of performance chasing, right? Cathie's just got her brand out there and people associate her with technology for whatever reason, and people are lazily pouring money into her fund. If you followed me here, this has been going on for years where she's underperformed and the market's gone up, and now all of a sudden people are excited. So again, these are just little indicators that we may be near the top. Next one is Bitcoin treasury companies. A lot of people aren't familiar with this, but not only can you just buy Bitcoin on Coinbase or on chain or in a ledger and now ETFs, there are now 100, probably growing, public Bitcoin treasury companies, right? Which is a derivative of Bitcoin, right? So as Bitcoin's gone from pennies to $120,000, it's now become hip to take a company public that just buys Bitcoin and Bitcoin derivatives. I'm not against it. I'm just saying there were zero ETFs a few years ago, and now there's 100 public Bitcoin treasury companies. And so I would just say that might be an interesting sign that things are getting too hot. Next up, let's just look at the actual best company that's benefited from everything that I've been talking about, which is Robinhood. And I've been there since the beginning. I understand how brokerages work, and Robinhood is probably the best ever at capitalizing on this degenerate economy that's just expanding. But people need to understand that as great as Robinhood has performed, they are benefiting from this incredible tailwind of the degenerate economy, the Bitcoin treasuries, all the trading that comes with that, all the meme stocks, option volume, betting, prediction markets. That doesn't go away. But at the same time, supply that is coming into the market fast will eventually dwarf demand, which then leads to lower volumes. So the better Robinhood does, the harder it is for Robinhood, the way markets work and supply works, to continue to have year after year of the same type of growth. It's not as simple as like a cloud business. This is very much a volume, supply and demand business. And as much as I'm bullish on the degenerate economy, these type of numbers, as great as they are a sign of concern. Okay. And I think the easiest, funniest, stupidest, griftiest sign of the top, obviously, this week, and it's been telegraphed by Chamath for months, he's been talking about doing another SPAC, is that he did launch a SPAC. And I think Buco Capital, a link to him, has the funniest take. He compares it to Trump. You can't be mad at Trump. Guy loves tariffs, always has. Kind of like my dog loves to roll in shit. Can't not love rolling in shit. Doesn't matter how mad I get at him. Doesn't matter that he has to get hosed down, which he hates. If he sees a pile of shit, he will roll in it. So the most important, it's really funny, it's really true, but really understand who the coyotes are in this degenerate economy. The good news is we can point them out for you. The bad news is, they're out there doing their thing, and they're only out there doing their thing when things are easy, right? Like if he can pull off a SPAC, you need to be concerned, not so much that you're going to buy it, but that other people are going to buy this. And the most important thing too about the way he's doing it, which is funny because he's trolling people that hate him, is he's calling the markets a casino. And I know this show's called The Degenerate Economy, but really it's just a framework for how to see the expanding economy of free time, culture, technology, and business and profits. And the market is not a casino, and it's part of the degenerate economy. There's good degenerate economy and bad degenerate economy, and this is the bad side of the degenerate economy. Meaning with this growth comes more Chamath and more silly product and more supply. Again, there are great opportunities, even in a market that feels like it's toppy, but just be careful out there. And finally, set of the week, I guess, Kenneth Rogoff, Harvard economist, fuel for the degenerate economy, in that he's represents an institution that even when they're wrong, says they're right. Came out years ago and saying Bitcoin was more likely to be $100 than $100,000. And here he is finally mentioning it for some reason, but not only mentioning it, explaining why he was right, even though he was wrong. So again, the reason the degenerate economy is exploding and retail investing is exploding and Robinhood is exploding is the investors that have been onboarded the last 5 years, the last 10 years of Robinhood and the mobile economy and Coinbase, etc., is that they're not going to listen to these people because you are held accountable. Anyways, have a great week, everybody. Be careful of the coyotes.